everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante. We're in the middle of, and rightfully so, a kind of a big awakening to the corruption, systemic racism in our police system because of the murder of George Floyd. And several other black people have already been murdered since George Floyd. It was about 3 weeks ago, or so, 4 weeks ago, that he was murdered. There's been a lot of change, but we've also seen brutal police forces just double down. And people are starting to realize, boy, we got to defund the police. And the whole system is broken. One of the things that I hope people wake up to, and it sounds, some people are like, Graham, how do you draw a connection between like police brutality, systemic racism, and then like, you know, Epstein and the global pedophile ring? I don't see the connection. Here's the connection. Because people that are willing to rape and sell children are, of course, willing to put their knee on the neck of a black man and execute him in the middle of the streets. The same powerful people that control the world, they're in favor of a militarized, you know, Gestapo-like police force at cities all over America. That quells, the 1% cannot have all of us rising up against them. That's why when those protests were all over the country, that's why, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's CIA or private intelligence that's pushing these white nationalists. I'm not excusing white nationalists. They're all awful, but why are now there's like lynchings and ropes in trees? Now that's been happening for centuries, and I'm not saying the CIA is doing it, and there is awful white nationalists, but they really are probably helping push that, probably have private intelligent people within these white nationalist organizations who are saying, man, we got to go lynch, we got to go hang, we got to go, because they need to stir up a race war to distract people from the fact that what this really is a war between the 1% and all of us. Because the day the Second Amendment, you know, Trumpers and those folks realize they're getting oppressed economically by the same people that are oppressing black people and people of color, that's a bad day for the 1%. So the 1% needs us divided, and there's a bunch of white nationalists that'll gladly keep everything divided. But the liberals do the same thing of refusing to acknowledge how awful the Democratic Party is. But I'm drawing these comparisons because we're an evil empire. We kill people in the Middle East. 85,000 children are dead in Yemen. We're currently bombing 7 countries and sanctioning several other countries in the middle of a pandemic. So a country that's willing to do that is no problem with brutalized cops. And this is what the powerful have done. This is what the royal family has been doing. This is what the Catholic Church has been doing. If you don't think these are tied into slavery and genocide, you are 100% wrong. Catholic missionaries, Christian missionaries helped with the genocide of Native Americans, helped with slavery, and it continues to this day. That's what human trafficking is. It's been going on for centuries. It is slavery. You are a sexual slave. The Queen of England and the children who disappeared. This is from 2010. This has been going, I remember hearing about the Catholic priests when I was a kid in Chicago in the 80s. The Catholic Church alone has been doing that for centuries. And it's all getting uncovered. Why haven't we prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell yet? Why haven't we prosecuted Prince Andrew? But let's talk about this. This is a letter written. There's a bunch of, again, in Canada, they snatch up Indigenous people. There's a generation of Indigenous people in Australia literally called the Stolen Generation. And it wasn't just to take their culture away, you know, cut their hair and give them Anglo names. I'm a survivor of the Kamloops and Mission Indian residential schools, both run by Roman Catholic Church. Right there. That's what Epstein was doing. Finding that's the Clinton Foundation and poor people in Haiti. this is an age-old thing. Poor kids, people that no one will stand up for, snatch them up and traffic them. I suffered terrible tortures there at the hands of especially Brother Murphy, who killed at least 2 children. Yeah, I was raised Catholic. This is why I don't practice Catholicism anymore. I witnessed him throw a child off a 3-story balcony to her death. When people say, how can a global pedophile sex ring exist? People don't want, they're like, people have a hard time. They want to just believe it was just this one Catholic church or just Jerry Sandusky at Penn State, or even just Epstein was a bad guy. How can this exist under our nose without anyone talking about it? Because the most powerful people are involved, so they can cover it up. Someone gets caught and the media comes in and just look at the Netflix special on Epstein. It doesn't hold the Clintons and Trumps accountable. It mentions them a little bit, but it doesn't show flight law. The Catholic Church has been doing this for centuries. He put me on a rack and broke some of my bones in the Kamloops school basement after I tried running away. I also saw him and another priest burying a child on the school orchard one night. That's evil. That's pure evil. That what was so sinister about the Catholic priests is that you really thought you could, oh, they're a man of God, they're a man of the cloth. They got into that because they knew pedophiles are protected there. Just like white nationalists go, boy, if I get involved in the police department, I'll get a license to kill. I won't get prosecuted. I can get away with murder. I can get away with being a pedophile if I'm a Catholic priest. Oh, I'm going to be a football coach and run this at-risk youth thing that Jerry Sandusky said. That's not to say every kids foundation is corrupt and a front. I'm not saying that. There's a lot of people doing non-for-profit work that is really helping people out. There's youth coaches that are really helping kids out. But predators look for easy prey. You see how I'm tying this into police brutality? And it's greed of power. Slavery, genocide, and sex trafficking. They're all related because it's all at the end of the day about money and power. I want to be able to do whatever I want. I have money and power. So I can take this kid who no one's going to speak up for. I can take this black person, this Latino, this person of color, these Native American. I can take their fucking land, do whatever the fuck I want. That's the mentality. That's why I'm showing you it's all connected. I'm a cop. A guy runs away from me. I can shoot him in the back. Who's going to prosecute me? Jeffrey Epstein, Virginia Roberts Giuffre would talk about how Epstein would laugh. Oh man, I got these parents to give me their kid. Oh, we'll snatch them up for the modeling industry. Maria Farmer said Ghislaine Maxwell was a monster. The world is run by sex trafficking psychopath pedophiles. That's who runs the world. So why we got to defund the police? We got to defund the military. We got to defund this whole power structure. I was 12 years old when I was an inmate at Kamloops School, and we were visited by Queen of England and Prince Philip. Oh, wow, that must have been a big event. The press must have been there. I mean, it must have been a big, must have been, wow, everyone must have talked about that. I remember it was strange because they came by themselves, no big fanfare or nothing. Now, why would the Queen of England? Oh, probably just didn't want to get the press and the paparazzi. Why wouldn't they want to, oh, we're going to this children's school to help out. Isn't that something that your PR department would want to show? Isn't that a big part of the PR of the royals? It's like, look at the royals do all this work. This, what I'm about to say, this is speculation. Some people speculate. And I don't want to say conspiracy theory because that was a term concocted by the CIA to devalue legitimate critiques of how JFK was assassinated. But some people speculate Princess Diana was uncovering this with the royal family, and that's why she had her accident. I don't know if there's evidence for that. I'm just throwing it out there. But I'm saying the royal family does not look good. No big fanfare. Jimmy Savile, ties to the royal family. I haven't even covered Jimmy Savile yet. He was a TV host, TV star in the UK. Big pedophile. Royal family was involved. I saw the Queen leave that picnic with 10 children from the school, and those children never returned. We never heard anything more about them and never saw them again, even when we were older. Shows up, no press, no nothing. Her and Prince Philip disappear with 10 children. 2012, body found on Queen's estate identified. Weird. The remains of a woman found on one of Queen Elizabeth's vast estates belonged to a 17-year-old missing girl. British detectives investigating the murder said Sunday. The body was found by a dog walker on New Year's Day in Woodland, 5 kilometers from the royal residence at Sandringham. Do you remember Sandringham? Sandringham came up a lot in Virginia Roberts' sworn deposition, where she named that Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein raped and trafficked her, and Prince Andrew.
We've come to Buckingham Palace in highly unusual circumstances. Normally, we'd be discussing your work, your duty. We'll come on to that. But today, you've chosen to speak out for the first time. Why have you decided to talk now?
Because there is no good time to talk about Mr. Epstein and all things associated. We've been talking to Newsnight for about 6 months about doing something around the work that I was doing. And unfortunately...
What did I just say? The work that I was doing. That's all part of the royals thing. Oh, they do all this charity work. They fly around and do all this charity work. So he's talking about this BBC show. We've been trying to talk about the BBC, well, the work that I'm doing. So again, it goes back to the question of why is the Queen of England and Prince Philip showing up at a kid's school that's supposedly helping Indigenous people, Indigenous children? Why wouldn't they want to advertise that? Why they just show up and leave with 10 kids and no cameras? Weird, huh? It's weird question to ask, huh?
We've just not been able to fit it into either your schedule or my schedule until...
First of all, say schedule. Shut the fuck up. Schedule. I hate that shit. Say schedule. I don't give a fuck. Say schedule. Shut up. I know it's your language, but don't say it that way. It sounds dumb. You pedophile piece of shit. Fuck you and your family.
Now, and actually it's a very good opportunity, and I'm delighted to be able to see you today.
As you say, all of this goes back to your friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. How did you first become friends? How did you meet?
Well, I met through his girlfriend back in 1999, who, and I'd known her since she was at university in the UK. And it would be, to some extent, a stretch to say that as it were, we were close friends. I mean, we were friends because of other people. And I had a lot of opportunity to go to the United States, but I didn't have much time with him. I suppose I saw him once or twice a year, perhaps maybe maximum of 3 times a year. And quite often, if I was in the United States and doing things, and if he wasn't there, he would say, well, why don't you come and use my houses? So I said, that's very kind, thank you very much indeed.
Casual acquaintances do that all the time. I don't see my family 3 times a year.
But it would be a considerable stretch to say that he was a very, very close friend. But he had the most extraordinary ability to bring extraordinary people together.
Yeah, pedophiles. He brought a bunch of pedophiles together. Yeah, all these wealthy pedophiles. That was his. He brought them together. Thanks, Andy.
And that's the bit that I remember, is going to the dinner parties where you would meet academics, politicians, people from the United Nations. I mean, it was a cosmopolitan group of what I would describe as US eminence.
Was that his appeal then? Was that what you, because you were perceived by the public as being the party prince. Was that something you shared?
Well, I think that's also a bit of a stretch. I don't know why I've collected that title, because I never have really partied. I was single for quite a long time in the early 80s. But then after I got married, I was very happy, and I've never really felt the need to go and party. And certainly going to Jeffries was not about partying.
It was not
Absolutely
about partying.
Not.
It was
you
about
said you weren't very good friends, but would you describe him as a good friend? Did you trust him?
Yes, I think I probably did. But again, I mean, I don't go into a friendship looking for the wrong thing, if you understand what I mean. I'm an engaging person. I want to be able to engage. I want to find out. I want to learn.
But then you didn't notice any of this stuff happening, and all the times you stayed at his home? Oh, this is a great minefield of bullshit. To just keep stepping in and out of bullshit. It's fantastic.
And so you have to remember that I was transitioning out of the Navy at the time. And in the transition, I wanted to find out more about what was going on, because in the Navy, it's a pretty isolated business because you're out at sea the whole time. And I was going to become the Special Representative for International Trade and Investment. So I wanted to know more about what was going on in the international business world. And so that was another reason for going there. And the opportunities that I had to go to Wall Street and other places to learn whilst I was there were absolutely vital.
He was your guest as well. In 2000, Epstein was a guest at Windsor Castle and at Sandringham.
Sandringham, where they found the dead body of the girl, the 17-year-old girl? Huh.
He was brought right into the heart of the royal family at your invitation.
But certainly at my invitation, not at the royal family's invitation. But remember...
That was prepped ahead of this interview. You better make sure it's distance from the royal family. You better make it just seem like a bad choice of friends from you, Andy.
It was his girlfriend that was the key element in this. He was the, as it were, plus one to some extent.
Plus one, some sort of
Right,
party
you
invitation
threw a birthday
gone awry.
party, for Epstein's girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, at Sandringham.
No, it was a shooting weekend.
No, it was a shooting weekend. Oh, so keep Sandringham keeps coming up there. So we have a story of a Native American guy that was tortured, basically at a school where he saw a priest kill 2 people and dispose of bodies. The Queen shows up with Prince Philip, disappears with 10 people. Nobody's around, no press, no nothing. A body is found on the Queen's at Sandringham, and now and all these accusations of Prince Andrew's ties to Ghislaine Maxwell. And I mean, this is just from watching like cop shows and 48-hour TV shows, like where they find a crime and just watch how detectives operate and put shit together. Like, play a couple rounds of the board game Clue and these red flags jump up at you.
Shooting weekend.
Just a straightforward
shooting weekend.
But during these times that he was a guest at Windsor Castle at Sandringham, the shooting weekend, we now know that he was and had been procuring young girls for sex trafficking.
We now know that. At the time, there was no indication to me or anybody else that that was what he was doing. And certainly, when I saw him either in the United States, when I saw him in the United States or when I was staying in his houses in the United States.
How's
there was
this?
no indication. Absolutely.
So let me say it right. You stayed at multiple houses of his in New York. He stayed in Sandringham, where we now know he was, as she just said, procuring, he was raping and trafficking children. You had no idea? This whole time? This whole time? How did he smuggle them in and out of your house? Like, this is the kind of shit that, like, it's like a guy walking out of a drug cartel house with like white powder around his nose. I don't know. I don't know anything about drugs in there. Right? I don't know. It was a shooting weekend.
No indication. And if there was, you have to remember that at the time, I was patron of the NSPCC's Full Stop campaign. So I was close up with what was going on in those time about getting rid of abuse to children. So I knew what.
Red flag, another red flag. So again, I said this earlier in the video. There are plenty of noble, non-for-profit organizations that are trying to help kids who are disadvantaged or poverty or war-torn or whatever. There's plenty of them. But predators set up those. Some of them are used to traffic children. He had one. Ghislaine Maxwell had this Save the Oceans, and in the website that she's since taken down since last year when Epstein got arrested, it said, she got tipped off. She knew he was going to be arrested, so she took it down before he got arrested. She took it down in like May or June of last year, and he got arrested in July. We want to help 12 to 14-year-olds learn about protecting the oceans. So you just got to really listen for that. Sandusky had an at-risk youth thing, sports, football for at-risk youth. Because again, when I interviewed former child crimes investigator Eric Oldenburg, who was a cop for 24 years, he said that was one of the things they always looked for. He goes, Graham, because if you show me 100 kids that were abused, 99 of them will come from disadvantaged homes or whatever because there's no parents around. Right? A kid that grows up in a healthy home with two parents paying attention, like, oh, this coach or this non-for-profit or this person, this guy's really paying attention to me. The parents are going to go, I'm sorry, who? Wait, what? Disadvantaged kids, predators buy them gifts, all this crap.
What the things were to look for, but I never saw them.
So you would have made that connection because you stayed with him, you were a visitor, a guest on many occasions at his homes, and nothing struck you as suspicious?
Nothing.
During that whole time?
Nothing.
Just for the record, you've been on his private plane?
Yes.
You've been to stay on his private island?
Yes.
You've stayed at his home in Palm Beach?
Yes.
You visited Ghislaine Maxwell's house in Belgravia in London?
Yes.
So in 2006, in May, an arrest warrant was issued for Epstein for sexual assault of a minor.
Yes.
In July, he was invited to Windsor Castle to your daughter, Princess Beatrice's 18th birthday. Why would you do that?
Because I was asking Ghislaine. But even so, at the time, I don't think certainly I wasn't aware when the invitation was issued what was going on in the United States.
Well,
and
at
I wasn't
the time,
aware until the media picked up on
I
it, because he never
thought
said
that
anything
the
about
royal family would
He
cover it
never
up.
discussed with you the
Never
fact
discussed it.
that an arrest warrant had been issued. So he came to that party knowing police were investigating him.
Well, I'm not quite sure whether was it police that I don't know. You see, this is the
It
problem.
was the
I
Palm
really
Beach
don't know.
police at the time.
But I mean, I'm afraid, you see, this is the problem. Is that an awful lot of this was going on in the United States, and I wasn't a party to it, and I knew nothing about it.
In 2008, he was convicted of soliciting and procuring a minor for prostitution.
All right, I can't watch any more bullshit, but let's just follow the... There's Ghislaine Maxwell, by the way, at Bill Clinton's daughter's wedding. Flight logs indicate he was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane 26 times. Hillary was on 2 times. Hillary and Bill both visited Epstein's compound in New Mexico. These are the ruling elites. What does this have to do with police brutality and Black Lives Matter? Joe Biden signed the 1994, or wrote the 1994 crime bill. President Bill Clinton signed it into law. This is who comes to their daughter's wedding. Oh, Trump, you're not out of this. Oh, Milena, Jolene, Jeffrey. He was on his plane once. Virginia Roberts was trafficked out of Mar-a-Lago. William Barr has prosecuted nobody. Acosta, he appointed. Oh, and by the way, here's him last summer hanging out with Prince Andrew. In June, a month before Epstein got busted. Oh, well, who's all golfing? Oh, well, that's a fun-looking foursome. Bill Clinton, Trump, Bloomberg, Giuliani. I'm sure there's no tie at all. The fact that the former mayors of New York City is just happening to be where Epstein hung himself with a paper T-shirt, and the video footage just disappeared. But Graham, they weren't mayors at the time. Weird. But you're trying to tell me former mayors they don't know anybody? They couldn't get anything done? It's all connected because the ruling class is filthy and evil, and they've been doing this for 500 years. Sex trafficking, slavery, genocide. And they do it at the top. They do it at the most powerful level. So, of course, our police do it on the street level. Nobody else is connecting these dots. That's why you watch this show. Shave your knuckles for justice. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification button and the subscribe button, even if you've done it before, because they're unsubscribing, many of you, every day. Watch the ads all the way through. If you click skip ad, I don't get paid. Also, support us at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. Rockfin.com is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. All my videos are on Rockfin ad-free. Thanks for watching.